Kia ora tātou. I thought I'd just jump on and talk you through your assessment and how it's been broken down. In the Google form, a few people had said that they're a little bit confused. So I thought I'd just do this visually for you. So if you go to classwork, you'll find all of the work that we are doing here under internal assessment. So I've started breaking down the standard into its parts. So we did have the paper copy of the booklet, but obviously now I have them at my home and you don't have them at yours. So each of you should have received an email so that you've got what you had done to then start putting in digitally. So you'll find the information, the student instructions in here. Have another read through just to remind yourself of what the standard is asking. So for example, task 1 is choosing an issue and framing your research, which we should all have done and hopefully submitted. The second part is then doing your research. I've also added in for you the assessment schedule, and I've broken it down into student speak, so you can see exactly what you need to do for an achieved, for a merit, and for an excellence. This was on the very back page of your booklet. So if we go back to our Google Classroom, so I can see that one person has read it and submitted it, so well done to that one person. The second part is what you guys should have, in theory, have signed off at this point. I would like you to make this your priority. If you have completed both tasks but not submitted it, I would ask that you do so, because once you submit it, I will mark it and sign you off. So if we take a look here, you have this mix and match to complete. So all you're doing is looking at the key term and then matching it with its definition. So I would suggest doing a color coding system. So for example, keywords, I might make that red. I'm going to go now find the keywords definition. So if we take a look, words, important words that you will use to find your sources. This will also help you in the skimming and scanning process when finding information. So I think that matches with keywords, so I'm going to color code it. And this is the first task you should do. This really needs to be completed ASAP, this document here. This is where you should have what you had written by hand popped into this document. Once you have done that, I would like you to submit it so that I can sign your framing off. In particular, these two questions here. These are really important to get right before you move on to the next section. So this is part 1, framing your inquiry and coming up with your questions. The second part is finding your sources and really looking for research that answers your 2 research questions. So please submit that if you've finished it. So this is where you're going to do your source notes. So you can see here that I've gone into detail about what is essential for these notes. So really the first thing is that you need to be using a range of source types. So you can't just do all websites, for example. You could do 5 websites and 1 TED Talk, for example. That wouldn't be great, but it would do. You need to be able to give all of the details for that source, including the text type, date, author, organizations, and URLs, and I'll show you what that would look like. Your notes should be in your own words. I would actually recommend perhaps doing your notes in paper first in bullet point form, and just make some running notes and summarize your text as you read them, and then transfer it into this document here. They should be in bullet point form, so not full sentences. They must be in your own words. And if you are going to keep a couple of quotes or statistics, I would recommend just doing 1 or 2, so the most important ones, and make sure that they're in quotation marks so you know if you're going to use them later when you form your conclusions, that you are able to cite them and reference them, because if you don't do that, it is plagiarism. So just make sure any quotes are in quotation marks for you in your notes. and you should be aiming for 6 different sources, and they should cover a range of viewpoints, so you don't want to hear the same thing 6 times. So if we go into this document, you'll see that we've got the research template for each, for 6 sources, okay? So you are going to be answering the same 2 questions for every source. I would probably start by just writing my question. For example, what are the causes of ocean acidification? And what are the consequences of ocean acidification? And then I would just copy and paste them across all so that I don't get confused later, for example, and you'd do the same for question 2. So one source template means one website. You might have one website, one article, both are written, one interview, oral, one documentary, and then 2 of your own choice, 5 and 6. So that's how you set out your notes. I have also given you a model template of what this might look like and going through the whole process of note-taking. I know that you've had note-taking you've had lots of it this year with the unit standard and Wānanga. If you open up this, I've just shown you my process of how I would go through taking notes on a source. If you can't print the source, which is absolutely fine, I would just be doing my notes straight on paper. So for example, here I have used 3 different colours. That was because I had 3 research questions. You might just have 2 different colours. And I've highlighted where I've found answers for that question. So you can see here the different colours. And you can see I've started organising my notes and I've done a draft. So you can see pink, and here are my pink answers, or my answers to that question I've highlighted in pink. Same with orange and with yellow, but you've only got 2 questions, so you only need 2 colours. Once I've done a draft note, set of notes, I went through and just double checked that my notes were under the right headings. And so I've moved one of them because I thought actually it might be better further down. And then I've put it into my source template, which you will obviously be doing digitally. You can see up here how much detail you need to put into your sources. This is so that you can reference accurately later. So I've put in that it's a written source. I've put in that it's a newspaper source, but I've also said that it's an editorial. Instead you might write article if it's an article. I've put in when it was published here. I've got the full title as well as in what newspaper it was printed, and I've got the author, the New Zealand Herald. I could not see who the specific author was, so New Zealand Herald was all I could put. It's important to note stuff like that. I might even make a comment, specific author unknown, because that's relevant later when you do your source evaluations. If you were looking at something like a YouTube video, things that you might look at is, if you're looking at a mini documentary series or a particular channel, is have a look at the channel. See, are they a verified channel? That can tell us whether they're going to be a more reliable source or not. And you might even look at how many followers they have. You might add that into your source details. Don't just stick with what's there. Put in everything you think might be useful to help you decide if they're going to be a reliable source or not, which is something we do next after we've done our research. So you can see here I've got the question and my notes in my own words in bullet point form. You can see I've done the same thing here, and I haven't actually included any quotes in this section here. However, I do believe I did up here. Probably should go back and make sure that I have got all of my my quotes in quotation marks, so do make sure you've done that. So you'll do this for each source 6 times, answering the same questions. You will have the entire week to do this. I would like to be able to give you, oh, what have I done there? Sorry. Shoot. Classwork. Next week, what I'll do is put up checkpoint 3. So checkpoint 2 is going to be due next week, but I will put up checkpoint 3 for those who are zooming through, as well as another tutorial video. Hopefully this is useful, and sorry about the little deviation. Good luck, and do email me if you have any questions or problems. You can also assign a task to me through comments, so if you want me to check anything, but make sure once you've finished a checkpoint you hand it in. Only 3 have handed it in, so please make sure you do that. Cheers, good luck, and I will hopefully see you soon.